So we should be live going into Facebook. I see it now in the Facebook Creator Program, and now we're going live on Facebook. So we will be live everywhere. And if you're joining us from around the world, thank you for being here. It is Marketing Monday with your boys, Pat and Zach, getting it done.
What's
I'm
up,
in a different room today, so I don't know if the music's going to work or not. But it doesn't really matter because we've got everything we need, really. Oh, I think I do have some music. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah.
There we go.
Hey, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Marketing Monday. I am Pat Hilton, joined by Zach Hoffman, and we are coming to you live. And Zach was talking to me last week about branding after our call, and he was like, "Man, gotta have something that sticks." And so from moving forward, this episode is the Social Authority show. So we're going to be called Social Authority, and this is Marketing Mondays. So that's a little bit better. Zach's more of a branding and ad specialist, and I'm just the rocket ship rapid fire MC guy, from the street corner. Right. And so I think that's so important when we get into marketing and sales and stuff is we all have our own angle of expertise. And so it's really important to get around people that can look at what you're great at and say, hey, man, I mean, if you twist this or remix that or add this little thing, I think it's going to enhance everything that you're doing. And some people would listen to something like that and they'd cry about it or be like, oh, this person's such criticism. But I was just at Brad Lee's office this past weekend, and dude, he's given me so many different angles and views on my skill set that have helped me. And if I never would have met him, I would have never made those tweaks and those improvements that have drastically changed the trajectory of certain categories as far as opportunity and profitability, because other people are able to look at you and see what you need to do. And that's why marketing or social media management teams or any of these things, when you bring them into your ecosystem, you start to analyze what you're doing differently. And that's what we talk about on the show. So, Zach Hoffman, why is that stuff so important? Like branding and stuff is important too. You can't just go viral.
Oh yeah, for sure. Branding, because you need messaging that just carries through with everything that you're doing. You need a common thread that's just going to link the individual's consumer's mind to actually making a purchasing decision, through you. Even I saw McDonald's billboard yesterday and it said loving it. It's that's the key message over there at McDonald's. Just like exalts drives results. Fact is, you got to have, common DNA, common thread through all your messaging to really carry through and attract consumers into what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think last week we were talking about Morgan & Morgan and how great they are at marketing and how great they are at branding and visibility and grabbing attention and catching eyeballs. And in your department of success with working with a lot of people like that category of a clientele, I mean,
Yeah.
why are they the standout name?
Well, definitely for the people that, they're carrying forward a lot of key messaging right now. They're looking at a lot of like multiples on settlements, like a first offer from an insurance company, but they're achieving an even greater settlement for who they're representing when they actually take the case forward. And they're marketing that. There's a lot of marketing out there for 10x or just, multiples in different verticals, or when people are looking for better health or optimizing themselves. So the multiplier definitely resonates. It's latching on to trends that are already moving themselves. It's, as a South Florida kid, you always learn one thing: never swim against the current. So when you see that in marketing and advertising, you can't hate on an advertiser for latching on to something they're seeing common momentum with and riding with it into the future.
Dude, that's why we started to take our motivational style messaging, our consulting and coach style messaging, the people that we work with doing personal brands that like helped us build our social media model. And we're now employing that into businesses as well, outside of the personal branding space, and viral motivational style stuff with like a meme of Post Malone, somebody that everybody already knows. Well, it's like on my personal page, it got 8.5 million views.
For sure.
Because people already
Malone,
know it, so I'm swimming with the current. I added my own little motivational twist to it, and people liked it.
Well, and Post Malone's been relentlessly persistent. He's one of the top artists of our time right now. So He's got a big campaign going with the Hard Rock, I believe, for their gambling platform. But Post Malone, yeah, he's at the top of the wave, man. He's riding.
He's everywhere too, and that's the key. And so the other thing I want to talk about is the share factor. How do we create stuff that people share? So back to the Morgan and Morgan. I don't know if you know this, but a few years ago, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, let's say, they had a jingle contest. So this is how I originally heard it, Morgan and Morgan. They had a jingle competition where you could write a jingle for Morgan and Morgan. I think I entered, and the person they chose was really, really good. I thought the jingle was great. But I even noticed that like creators and artists, because that's how I got discovered by Grant Cardone, was making him a jingle. There's people out there with skills, millions and millions of dollars worth of skills. And all they really need to do is, like you said, latch onto the current or latch onto what's happening and trending and what's really messaging at the top of the scale. And one of the best ways to do that, we were talking about this at the Growth Summit this past weekend. There were a lot of people from YouTube, HubSpot. There were people from Service Titan, all these different CRMs, people from Google, and they were talking about how there's a horizontal, like what we're doing right now, a horizontal stream like this on YouTube is a different algorithm than if I flip the camera vertical at the same time and go live on YouTube on another camera. So the person from YouTube told me to do both. I had this all set up ready for today to do my one, but I think in the future I'm going to need to add another one because now we're at a point where there's different algorithms for vertical versus horizontal. So not only do you have to have the long form content, you got to have the short form content.
Oh, for sure. And you see it pick up in different ways, the short form versus the long form content. So yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, especially, the guy running the algorithm, he knows best. So definitely would take his advice and hop on that, second camera, that second,
I just think it's fantastic how riding with the current of how the mobile phone works literally changed video from only being horizontal to making vertical video like this thing. And it's actually what we rode that current. That's how we built our company was daily 30-second videos. Because again, that's what worked for me. So why wouldn't it work for other people? And the easiest way to get that now is to get on calls like this, get a nice little setup and have conversations with people. So what's on the hopper today? What's on the hopper today?
So, some of these things that you're mentioning definitely play into some of the topics that we have for today. So we're going to talk about some big things happening at Meta over the past week or so, and essentially Dana White joining the Meta board. Then you have Meta fact checking evolving. We have to touch back on consumer news and social and just how consumers are engaging, getting their news there. And then we'll talk a little bit about some firm social media that I see out there, some legal marketing. We'll get into that for a bit. But to hop into Dana White, I mean, you talk about a real success story, a guy who's been persistent and just, pushed through hell to get to where he is. And a lot of people look at him just like, oh, instant success, not by any means at all. No. He's definitely, he's been, just fighting his way to the top in a lot of ways. But Dana bought UFC with a group for $2 million in 2001. They essentially had an exit in 2016, at which point Dana White owned 9%, where they sold for $4 billion. But essentially, Dana White still is active at UFC. And, one of the key connectors here, though, as we move into like the Meta fact checking. So the first guy to give Dana White a big opportunity was, guess who? Mr. Donald Trump, by allowing UFC to host 2 events at the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. So there's a strong bond, a strong friendship there. And essentially, I think you're going to see that play into a little bit of that Meta connection. But it's, pretty interesting how small the world gets in such a, global space.
Dude, I'm noticing that. And I love these names because these are like the targets. So we went through an exercise this past weekend where you like write down all your dream clients. And I'm like, Dana White, Elon Musk, you know what I mean? I could go down the row. I don't know if Kid Rock's necessarily my dream client, but I'm down with Kid Rock. I actually saw Kid Rock for $5 at Mississippi Nights in St. Louis in like 98. When awesome. I Am the Whatever was the song, and it was off the same record, his first record, Devil Without a Cause. And then Once Ba Widda Ba was the next single, his entire brand just exploded. I Am the Bull God was the name of the first single. It did good. But dude, once that other one came out, these people, they're all personal branding experts now. They've integrated personal branding expertise into everything they do. Everyone knows who they are. Bezos, somebody's going to acquire TikTok. I think Meta and these people, or Elon or somebody, might just acquire TikTok with Kevin O'Leary, because there's no way it's just going to disappear in a week.
I don't know that O'Leary has a squeeze to get in on it, but definitely I believe that some of your Silicon
maybe I'm
Valley
just a O'Leary fan because he wears his
Hey, man,
pajamas on Instagram.
It shows you the power of media, right? Him and his Shark Tank show make you think he's actually that relevant. I mean, maybe Mark Cuban can make that acquisition,
right?
But I don't think I don't think he's got the squeeze.
I'm rooting for O'Leary. I'm rooting for Kevin O'Leary, man. I'm rooting for you, bro. On Marketing Monday
Live. Find a banker to back him. I think.
Come on, Kevin.
If you look at some of those guys like Elon and Zook and some of the guys in Silicon Valley, or even a Mark Cuban, they have the capital to potentially organize that deal. Essentially, the government's looking for TikTok servers to reside in the United States of America. So we can control the data flow, the geolocation, because there is that Great Wall in China blocking all of our social media and all of our content, our creative, our powerful tools that Google has, and Facebook, Meta, all that. So, why not, man? It's perfectly, I think, called for.
Yeah.
So
totally, and I think that they should. I think they should find a way to acquire it.
To go back to like Dana White, and you just look at like even Facebook becoming Meta, being Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, it's huge conglomerate. But essentially, when you look at a character like Dana White, the way that he's built up UFC and some of the things that they've done to even like save the organization through the path, getting creative. They had that Ultimate Fighter show that debuted in 2005, which they say essentially kind of saved UFC, really brought a lot of like people to watching it and getting it to that next level and building huge audiences, to really get involved. I remember when that was starting to broadcast. I was in college. But it's, I think Connor even came through that show. So, it helps them develop stars, but it's that real world mentality, that real world show that actually helped UFC get to that whole next level where they, skyrocketed their pay-per-view sales and got a lot more engagement in the sport by hosting a reality show.
It's so unbelievable how I saw somebody say this, and I don't remember who it was. I think it was my buddy Nick Perry. I think you've met Nick before. Nick's everywhere, but that's the whole point. Nick's everywhere. He films what he's doing. He just had his first baby, just got married. He films himself flying all over, travels. He runs a virtual wholesaling company out of Austin, Texas. But like, you could learn that all by watching his stories because he's so good at just telling you what he does every day. I don't know that Nick necessarily goes out of his way to like make content. He just does what he does every day and films himself doing it. And I think that approach is going to become more and more and more popular, is just filming your everyday, filming B-roll, and then adding your messaging to what you already do. So showing what you do and then adding your messaging on top of that.
But it could also be one post that just resonates with your audience so well. I don't know about you, but there's a Dana White post that I see all the time where he's like, oh, I hear about so-and-so wanting to be an entrepreneur because they could set their own hours. He's like, set your own fucking hours. He's like, I work 80 hours a week. He's like, Christmas. He's like, there's no Christmas. He's like, Thanksgiving, no Thanksgiving. He's like, holidays don't even exist as an entrepreneur. I work through, it's essentially, it's a big myth out there in our culture where people are like, oh, I'm going to go work for myself. Go work for yourself. But you better get off that 9 to 5 kick because it doesn't fly as an entrepreneur.
It doesn't fly in the big leagues.
No, it
doesn't fly in the big leagues. And, I had a conversation with our editors and because a lot of times we've had to work through the holidays too. Now we're a little bit more efficient, obviously, after doing this a few years. So daily video output has become a lot more systematic for us. The operation of it has become a lot more controlled. And at the same time, we've gotten so efficient that they do get those 2 weekends. I think it's important for our editors to have time to reset, because when they come back and they have a new angle and a new creative and a new focus, they come into a podcast recording like this and they're able to kind of have a fresh take on it in a new week. Because when it comes to creative, that's different than being a business owner. Being an editor or a fulfillment person for a business owner is different.
Yeah.
It's my
Well,
job
look,
to work those other 2 days so that they're
yeah, I
ready on
mean,
Monday to be efficient.
well, the fact is as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you do have to get out there and network. You have to be active. It's not all, it's not all like the hardest work. Sometimes it's out there just being social and having fun and like engaging in society and actually going out there and communicating with others and building up your network. Because, a lot of people, some will say, your network is your net worth. So essentially getting out there and building those connections, even though it might seem like you're out there playing, it's still work at the end of the day. You got to come prepared and you got to be, you got to be ready to have conversations.
And I also think you need to be accessible. So there's a feature, there's a
Yep.
thing on, I noticed this in the settings of apps, there's a thing called accessibility and language. So you can turn on captions and whatever subtitles and whatever language and whatever you need for your phone for you if you are deaf, so that you can use the phone and operate within the phone system, which is really, really cool. And so as creators, that's part of the reason why we focus really well on subtitles that are very engaging. Not only does it help everyday viewers get the information easier, they can read it, they can see it, they can hear it, they can feel it, but even as a system, the accessibility side of the system will help prioritize content that is readable and that does have subtitles and that is engaging. And so the folks
Yeah,
out there
but
that just
it's
throw stuff up, you really want to make sure that it's produced and digestible for the audience.
Well, it's also, like I said, it goes back to finding that hero piece or finding that thread that connects with your audience. And like I said, Dana White has one that resonates with me really well as an
Yep.
entrepreneur. And
I see that edit everywhere.
yeah, in my and it's a piece that's probably from like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's got millions of views and hundreds of thousands of likes and engagements. And
It's just him being
love or
him.
hate
He
the
didn't
guy,
try
he's
to
awesome.
create that.
What's that?
I said it's just him being him. He didn't just try to create that.
No, he didn't try to create that. It's him being him, but that goes back to, the essence of what we talk about, that silver lining of like getting out there, creating content, creating that information so that you can find that chord that connects with the audience, because it takes a lot of reps to get, to hit that home run, or to get what you're looking for.
It's great. And I think that those guys, they might sound like big names or like they're out of touch with everyday people or whatever that is. No, they are everyday people that became something big by just doing the one thing over and over. My buddy Tim Harridge says all the time, dude, the main thing is the main thing. And too many times people get way too far off of what that main thing is that's working, and they get all distracted, and then that's when they lose.
Hey, it's becoming a rock star. It's when you look at there's that old saying when we were kids, like there's the one hit wonders, and then there's the guys that just become absolute rock stars because they take that one hit and they parlay it into a real business. So, the key is when you're out there doing social messaging or you start to strike a chord with your audience, definitely build on it and build on that momentum. But to carry forward with, some of the items to cover, meta fact checking. So we're seeing like a big evolution here on the heels of the election. Essentially, they're quote unquote ending this fact checking program, removing certain speech restrictions. Essentially, Zook suspended Trump after, January 6, 2021, but has re-allowed the account. And political content's going to come back into your feed, whether you like it or not.
And it should.
And the one kicker here, though, too, is the trust and safety team is going to be moving to
Texas.
So there you go. So, if you want to have any idea of where the agenda is going to be, flowing or how it's going to evolve, well, everything's bigger in Texas. We know that.
So
But
they're leaving
definitely-
California and moving to Texas?
Hey, there you go.
I'm posting this on Facebook right now.
That is fact.
love
Meta
it.
can fact check that, but they're definitely moving their fact checking team over to Texas. And that goes on the heels. I believe X's fact checking team, I believe that they might reside in Texas as well, but they're emulating some of the steps of Musk. And I think Zook challenged Musk to a
few years ago, there was a potential cage match on the line. It looks like they're getting along now. Elon Musk versus Zuckerberg was a song I wrote a few years ago. It never materialized. I was ready to sing about it and rap about it, but it just didn't happen.
You're ready to do the intro?
I was ready to do it. I was ready to be the MC.
Well, it's still could happen.
It
It's
could
like for every
happen, especially if they're
hey.
competing over TikTok. Maybe the winner gets TikTok. Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg. The winner gets the TikTok deal.
We'll see, man. I think you're going to continue to see like a hyper evolution there. You're going to start to see your feed, essentially evolve, I would say, on the Facebook and Instagram environments.
Oh, totally.
And yeah,
Totally.
you're just going to see a lot of evolution, which brings me to the next topic here, consumer news via social. I think we did like a little tiny piece about it, and people just started flipping out about the fact that people are actually consuming their news via social media. Facts are facts,
Mm-hmm.
so hate on that, broadcast it on social media. The fact is most people are getting their news via social media. They
Totally.
say, they say 1 in 5 are getting their news from social as adults. And you got to also think how many people actually look at or engage in the news. So I believe that, that is a strong skew of who is actually consuming news. And then when you're looking at people under 30, that number shoots up to 37% of the news being, essentially influenced for that audience of people under 30, which is, your next essential, I would say, like big voting population or people that influence society because they're at working age, you would assume. But that's at a 37%. And then when you go to 30 to ages 30 to 49, you're at 26%. 50 to 64, you're at 15%, and 65 plus, it says 7%. But I believe that all those numbers are a little bit skewed, as most data is, and that social media is having way heavier influence on how people, grade or judge like the news or what they actually believe in.
Well, dude, they
So,
would not have come with all those restrictions and tried to control the way everything was produced and broadcasted if people weren't getting across their messaging. So we have to
you got the
understand
truth.
how much power there really is in these platforms and how much power there really is in streaming. I think streaming in 2025, I was saying on another one the other day, 2025 is the year of streaming live because it's the easiest way to get a podcast recording. People like you and
Mhm.
me are busy. But
Yeah.
45 minutes a week, we can hop on a call and we can record very easily and keep our pages updated and have some fresh takes on stuff, talk about some trends. We were talking about the Google Trends app. There's an app called Google Trends. You
Yeah.
just type it in, it's free. And dude, guys, if you're looking for content ideas, go use the Google Trends app. It lists what people are searching for. Find something on there and make a video about it.
Or even search tags on Instagram and see what people are tagging. I mean, pick a topic and throw the word marketing in there, see what tags, essentially are tying into it or social and, build from there. But also to build on some of that data, when they're looking at like the influencers and who's directing a lot of the content and information, 63% of the influencer profiles were men. And then also 77%, a whopping 3/4, had no affiliation with any news station out
Hmm.
there. So, or background from them. So these, quote unquote influencers that are directing a lot of the news, a lot of the influence in today's society have no broadcast experience and really no swayed agenda. They've never been handed a script of like, hey, talk about this topic or that topic because that's what you're being told to do on camera. We got
Bro,
final
I'm
cut.
telling you, and I was telling somebody this again over the weekend. We were talking about, it, and they were like, "So how did you like know to like send Grant Cardone a video of you singing?" And I was like, "Dude, honestly, we had been rapping in the alley and doing this kind of stuff out back behind the pizza place since we were 15 years old. And all that's happened in culture is the street performer that's got a ton of skill that's willing to put the time in and build a social media page is the person that now gets all these different opportunities and could potentially get discovered. When back in the day, it was sending demos to record labels. Now it's
Oh,
posting your demos on TikTok.
well, there's a lot of those success stories in today's world, but definitely, one of my favorite is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills sending his basically profile as a quarterback out to like thousands of coaches to actually get his start versus Patrick Mahomes, whose dad played professional sports, had everything essentially handed to him, including the NFL referees and umpires, like the referees judging the games. But essentially, I'm rooting. I am not a Bills fan. I am through and through Miami, but you can't hate on Josh Allen and his persistence and
Right.
just the way that that guy's played through injuries and definitely, gotten into the next level. And like I said, his story on the come up, he's the ultimate fighter. And essentially, like I said, taking street skills and applying them to the digital world, it all works. I mean, I promoted bands in college and definitely did different things where I was flying door to door and hustling my ass off. So
Yep.
you take some of those same you know, points, I guess, points of repetition that get you to
Dude, just
perfection.
straight up
You build them
guerrilla
up.
marketing. Guerrilla
Correct.
marketing. Like just going out there and being like, hey, like, dude, we're doing something over here.
Well, guerrilla marketing, it's an interesting society we live in because we went from, I would say, like a staged influence of where Google really controlled a lot of the information people digest in a lot of ways to where there's like more of like a constant flow, a current of information right now. So you could make a mistake, I think, in some of your media, your content publications, and make up for it fairly quickly and get back onto the good graces on the other side. I mean, you've seen it with just a lot of, celebrities of how they've, essentially like, done those like epic things that would destroy most careers, but have found their way back into the limelight and done well, just
It's
pushing
great.
through it.
It's great. What else we got on the hopper today? I got the pool guy texting me. I never had pool guys before.
Oh, pool guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, first
It's
world
like, I'm out in
problems,
the
right?
back. Gotta
Yeah.
get this, blah, blah, blah. What else we got?
Let him do his thing, man.
Dude, that's what I
Definitely.
told him. I'm like,
So,
what a great problem to have on a marketing Monday episode. The pool guy's calling me.
so anyhow, to keep going forward, looking at, some law firm social media out there on Instagram. Yeah, I was looking at some numbers I had from a couple years ago just to like look at some updated data, and essentially the landscape has totally changed. But there's a couple notable accounts out there that are doing pretty badass. There's a guy I see when I travel a bit. I see him in general traditional media as well. This it's called Top Dog Law. I'll see him and hear him on the radio a bit,
Top
but as
dog
well,
law.
Top Dog Law. You gotta check him out on
I
Instagram.
like
This
it.
guy James Helm. He's got 437,000 followers. And I'll tell you, the content and the creative that he pushes out there, it's not for everybody. It'd be like one of those, Mr. Beast dares, like I dare you not to laugh or react to some of his posts. I mean, this guy's posts just push the limit, and he definitely has a followership, and he's obviously getting some cases. So he's definitely been building up his practice. It's a whole nother channel, a whole nother view of social content and creative of what he's putting out there. Wouldn't necessarily do some of it myself, but it's it's got there's an audience for everything, man, and he's crushing it,
Hey
building
man,
up a
the
lot of
alternative
cases
and progressive
nationwide.
pieces, like there was an old musician named Frank Zappa that said that there was a time in record company history where they would find something that sounded cool and innovative and they would give it a shot. And some of that stuff became the biggest stuff in the game. And then these other, younger people came in that really didn't have much experience and they said this was how it was going to be and it became a little more cookie cutter. And so you always got to think that we're kind of going through a revival here somewhat of entrepreneurship and artistic creative innovation in 2025 where you can hit stream and be anything.
I mean, dude, YouTube. Look, Justin Bieber was found on YouTube. He's one of the
Unbelievable.
largest artists of our time. So, there's a lot to be said for, building up and at least like testing content creative and continuing to polish it up as you're building. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't his first video that caught the attention of producers and record label guys. But essentially, just like continuing to build up to the audience that you're trying to reach. And then, one thing, in looking at Instagram socials as well from law firms. So Ben Crump, who's one of the largest civil rights attorneys out there, he has 777,000 followers. And he just has major influence in general. But he carries a lot of sway on social media. And it's that belief in just believing in something and representing it through and through. He is a huge advocate and he's always out there spreading his message. And it's awesome to see. So, when you look at like, going into a world of fact checking, or you look at a world of like evolution with like social media in general, having a belief and carrying the momentum forward with it. Like I said, when you look at that law firm, that attorney's profile in particular, that persona, 777,000 followers, that cannot be bought. That is, truly believing in something and carrying your message forward.
Dude, it's unbelievable. Who else we got on? You got another one on the list? I'm gonna watch.
Hey,
I'm gonna
man,
go watch these people when we're
I don't
done.
necessarily have anything else, but I know you had some real world experiences that kind of like structured how you see some things this past week, right?
Well,
You had
yeah,
some
I
flight
think that.
delays and
Yeah, I mean, when I was at this meeting at Brad Lee's office at Lightspeed VT in Las Vegas, there's another one coming in March. The Traffic Summit is in March. This was the Real Business Growth Summit, and it was unbelievable because the people that were speakers were from HubSpot. They were from Google. They were
really?
from YouTube. Yeah, they were from LinkedIn. They were current employees, ex-employees, agency owners, ad people, like right up our alley. So you should definitely
That's
try
awesome.
and pop in there in March. Pop into one of those cozy seats and meet some of these people because it's just a different level. And I was also talking about this on another episode of the show, that people are looking for people with experience, time in the game, and expertise, because we want results fast now. And so the days of the young showboating wholesaler that's a young guy that ripped a couple housing contracts, which, by the way, congratulations. If you're smart, then you can pull that off. But and there's a lot of great coaches and stuff I'd love to refer you to do something like that. But I think when it comes to really getting specific expertise and growth, you go to the people that have been in the game for 20 or 30 or 40 years, that have a track record to learn how to get to that level in the next 20 years. And so the people in that room were unbelievable. I mean, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. Nice. And so I think there's something about that 50-person number, 50 to 60 people, nice little room setup. It's intimate, but everybody can have conversations. It's different than like a 2,500 person venue or an auditorium. Because even being a friend of Brad's, I've known Brad for 5 years. I'll introduce him in front of an auditorium, and sometimes I'll turn around and I didn't even get a selfie with him because he's gone, because it's busy. But in an event like this, where you get to have those one-on-one conversations, and you've got the YouTube gal there, and you can kind of chop it up with him and her and figure out what strategies are going to work between the three. It's different. It's a different type of connection. And so I encourage people to seek those connections out. And that's what I've been really good at, just getting into the corner and playing my guitar or whatever. I would show up at all these types of things and just play for free, just to get into the room, and then eventually became the MC, and eventually became the guy that did people's social media. And now we got a podcast studio, and it's awesome. So utilizing content creation totally changed my career from just the bar singer to the guy that now helps people produce content. And so everybody's got a skill set, and everybody's got a wheel in the machine, and be your wheel and be great at that one piece. And the machine will always operate really well. And if you plug into the right machines, you're going to build something for yourself. And so I think environments and relationships and the way you communicate are the most important three things in 2025. The easiest way to communicate well and get in front of people is just like this: streaming, chopping it up, posting it on your pages, and then in between, try and find topics and shoot videos for those topics. Get an editing team and a social media management team and an ads team so that you can manage your accounts, run ads, get leads, make more money. And that's the game in 2025. Everything's gone digital.
Yeah. It's not even a question. I mean, I had that conversation with you where, the conversation, you say social, and everybody's saying social, but the truth is like social is becoming the media of today. If you still had, some of your titans that had actually originated and created some of the main networks that you see today. And the only, living legend I think you have is Rupert Murdoch. And of course, Fox is continuing to lead. But essentially, I think they would all be double, triple downing on social, in a lot of ways, because it is truly the way people are consuming media today.
It is.
They're not necessarily, looping back into like other areas to spend hours and watch things. Like,
I think that's why people call it binge watching on Netflix, because it's not like you're looking at Netflix all day. You only get home or you have nothing else to do, and then you watch Netflix. This is what you're looking at all day. That's why they call it Netflix and chill.
If you binged watch on Netflix, you didn't watch ABC, you didn't watch NBC, you didn't watch Fox, you didn't watch CBS, you didn't watch any of the main networks. So, that's where you went to consume your content.
And how do we get on Netflix? Netflix, we would love to broadcast live Marketing Monday. I would also like to mention that over the weekend, this is something that I noticed that's a huge change in events. And this might actually shock you or some of the listeners, but I'm telling you, I've been in the event space. That's how I came into the game. So don't blame me. I'm just the street performer that became the lunch break guy, that became the MC guy, that became the social media guy. So an observation from the outside, who I learned business from consultants and coaches and marketing trainers. And dude, cuss words at events are like out. They're like a thing of like 2022, 2023. Cussing on stage is just not cool anymore. No one cussed at all at this thing, not even me. So I'm just saying, cleaning up your act, and this is another thing the YouTube woman talked about. If you cuss like in the first 3 seconds of your video, you're not going to get prioritized. People don't think it's cool. And again, it's like, I get it because, back in the day, we were doing what we do at the club, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that society is looking for a more polished version of that. And there's nothing wrong with being you.
I can't necessarily agree. I mean, you're going off of the YouTube Google skew, and I'm
just going off of the prioritization. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be you. I'm just saying that the way that it's presented, it might not get prioritized if that's how your clips are. And I'm noticing it even in the conference space. It's just becoming a little bit more leveled up. People's communication has gotten really, really good. And so you just can't get away with certain things anymore in certain areas.
I didn't know you were talking like a pirate up there on stage. So.
I mean, I've fricked and fracked a couple times on stage. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just depends on what the energy level is at. And I think that I've gotten myself in a little bit more polished environments as well. So I'm just telling you from what I'm seeing, the way the communication is going, the way I'm talking to people, the way they're talking to me, like, it just depends on where you're at. But if you can get into the right environments where there's people there chartering jets out and there's people there doing real businesses, they own 5-6 different businesses. They're doing $10 million a year in revenue. And I'm like, dude, man, I'm ready to do one. What do I need to do one? Well, I'm clearly in the right room. I'm almost there. What do we need to do?
Definitely it's persistence and, pushing forward. Definitely those real world, experiences just will set you to that next level for sure. Just getting out there and engaging with the reality of what's going on. I just can't encourage people enough to get out there and do things, COVID bit a lot of people in the ass, but a lot of people like use it as an excuse to still not go out and take their families out or like go to the movie theater or like do specific things. I had a great weekend. I took my kid down to, there was we did a lot of baseball. It seems to be baseball year round here down in South Florida. But Jesus Luzardo, who's now an ex-Marlin, but he held a baseball clinic, so we got to do that on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I took my boy with one of his friends down to Marlins Park, and we actually got to hit baseballs on the baseball field. And it was pretty epic, man. Definitely getting on a major league field. And
that feels different. It feels different.
It's real different, man. Just getting a ball out of the infield. You have a lot more respect when you're out there on the field, just, looking out there as to, what they see on a daily basis. No fans heckling at me out there, but definitely, getting big hits on that field and, taking the swings. It's a whole nother level of game. And then from there, we went down to, Aero 94 in Miami, which is a restaurant that's been there for decades. And it was just epic to experience the Miami, South Florida culture.
Dude, it's awesome. Front, I love it.
So
Marketing Monday. Get out there, do something this week. By the way, just want to throw this out there. Today is the first day and the day to enter the Nutrition Solutions 6-week challenge. So I don't know if you're doing it, Zach, but I'm going to put it out there real quick. So I've worked with Chris Cavallini and Nutrition Solutions for a long time. Incredible company. They have a free 42-day 6-week challenge. They give you all the meal stuff. You buy it all on your own. They don't sell you anything except you being you. So I encourage people. I'm going to do it. 42 days. Look at me now. Okay. 42 days. All right. I'm doing it. All right. Get it all. Okay. 42 days from now, I'm going to look different. So I'm making the commitment. If you want to go out there and do it, make the commitment. There's a free Facebook group. Chris does it right. We're giving it to people, including me. I'm a member of the team too, so I got to do it. And so I encourage you to take your health seriously in January and set the tone for the year. So, and you're going to feel better on camera and everything.
Seriously.
Right. You're going to feel better on camera. You're going to feel better out there in the business world. You're going to feel better marketing yourself. And so I'm doing it. I encourage you to do it too. Marketing Monday, Zach Hoffman, Pat Hilton in the building. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for your time.